if you are new, hi, I talk about books and writing, and today I am back on the books as I am doing a review of Ring the Bells by C.K. McDonnell, and it is book 5 of the Stranger Times series, which is one of my absolute favourite fantasy series of all time. And I don't really see it getting talked about anywhere really, and I just really wanted to absolutely share my love of this series with you. Now, I'm going to level with you. You do need to read these books in order because while each book is a self-contained story, there is another overarching story going on, and you're going to lose a lot if you don't read them in order. So that said, I know getting into an ongoing book series that is already 5 deep now is kind of a lot. So I am going to explain it to you a little bit, tell you what the world's about, hopefully tempt you into reading it. And then I'm going to get into Ring the Bells itself. I'm going to be very spoiler free because this book has just released and I really don't want to spoil it for anyone. I just, want to share how much I really love this book. And then, the usual little conclusion, wrap this up in a neat bow, we all go on and have a wonderful rest of our day. So, that said, let's get into the world of the Stranger Times. So, the world of the Stranger Times. It is set in modern day Manchester. It is marketed as a contemporary fantasy comedy. I personally think it falls more into like an urban fantasy comedy because it does have the markers of an urban fantasy in that you have a crime has been committed and it is going to be solved by the end of the book, you hope. So, the Stranger Times itself is a newspaper, and we do follow the team at the newspaper helping to solve said crime. Now, the newspaper releases once a week and it focuses on the weird goings on and the paranormal. And at the beginning of the first book, they don't really believe in any of this stuff, and then suddenly they are forced to believe in it and they are brought into that world of the folk and the founders and how they do not get on. So that said, urban fantasy is usually a first-person narrative. This is a third-person narrative, and it follows the plot rather than the characters. So your viewpoint character will change from chapter to chapter, and it could be a member of the Stranger Times, it could be someone else, it could be the big bad, it could be the police force. And I really like that you do get to follow the big bad and see what's going on. So it goes out of who done it, sometimes a bit more why done it, and more often than not, how do we stop them dunning it again? Professional writer, and I used how do we stop them dunning it again, and I am not ashamed. So, yeah, we follow that, and there's also actually a really nice touch that you do have articles from the newspaper peppered throughout the books, and they can be a really nice way to sort of break tension up and add a little extra humour. I mean, the books themselves are just funny anyway, and it is that very dry, sarcastic British-Irish humour. So if you're a fan of that, I have seen them kind of compared a little bit to Pratchett. Maybe a bit less satirical than, say, the Discworld books, but yeah, I can kind of see where they're coming from with that. So that is the world of the Stranger Times itself, and let's get into Ring the Bells because I am so excited to talk about this book. Right. So, Ring the Bells. Now, Book 5, we are well established into the overarching story, and it takes a little bit of a backseat in this one, but not completely. And you do really need to have read the other books because obviously, there is a lot of bits of information you need from prior books that get mentioned. And mentions do happen to sort of act more as reminders. It does not stop the story in its tracks to go over things that we've already gone over before, which is something I really appreciate about this writing. It's so easy to just stop everything and go, hey, remember that time when, recap a story and then carry on. Doesn't happen with this. Now, I'll level with you, yes, this is a Christmas story. It is all set around Christmas time. You couldn't set this at any other time because it is so heavily tied in. We go straight in with our big bad of Zalus, and he is an old god who someone has managed to trick someone into bringing back. And he's kind of unintentionally funny in that way, that he says something that it isn't really funny out of context, but within the context of what's going on, it really is. You know, it demands to be taken to powerful people who are being worshipped. And the thing is, he is a god who has been forgotten, and he has no followers, he has no believers, and he needs those to be powerful. This isn't a new idea. You know, this has been done plenty of times, but seeing it in the context of Christmas was a really nice touch, and I really thoroughly enjoyed it. So it did work. No, you know, Christmas good, Christmas bad, just Christmas, God needs followers, story. So yeah, really enjoyed that. But the B plot now, that was interesting because we got a Manny story. So Manny is really interesting, and we've had hints of him, but he is kind of one-dimensional when it is just Manny himself. Obviously, he's sharing his body with an angel, and yeah, that is interesting, but him as an actual character, we're still pretty thin on the ground with. So we got loads of backstory. The B plot was completely zeroed in on him, and it did have me going from laughing to crying in pretty quick succession at one point. And yeah, it's a sad story, but it's really, really well done, and it balances with the humour really nicely. You can't just have laugh a second. There is pathos in these books. There is moments where you're just like, oh my god, I can't believe you went through this, and it's just really nicely done. So I'm really, really glad we got to see that. I really did love seeing more of Manny. And jumping off from that, we have got so much of the cast of the folk and the founders. They are back, they are still here. We got to see more of Cogs, we got to see more of Zeke. I love those two. I just like whoever Zeke's interacting with, because he is like another sort of favourite of mine. I really enjoy him with Bancroft as well. I think those two work really well because they're both so sarky. So yeah, that was great. Oh, John Moore had more of a part in this. I really like John Moore. He's a really good fun character. It was nice seeing him outside of the pub, and he was doing more, and yeah, good times. I really like them. And of course you had Dr. Carter and Tamsin. Now, I have to say, when I first started reading about Tamsin and she was first introduced, I was like, I don't know, man, I'm not really a fan. She's easily like down there with my least favourite characters, but teaming her with Dr. Carter was such a good idea because they butt heads really well. They are very, very driven people, and they are very much, you know, wanting to outshine the other. So having them working together was really nice, and they had their own plot. You know, it is Christmas time, and Dr. Carter is having to organise a Christmas party for the founders, and that was really good fun. So yeah, I really, really enjoyed that. It was that whole, like, what you can imagine a big dysfunctional family Christmas might be like. Well, we can't sit so-and-so next to so-and-so because, you know, they had an argument over a bag of hula hoops 20 years ago and they haven't spoken since, and they're still mad about it. You had very much that vibe going on, which I really liked. So yeah, really great to see a lot of the recurring cast back. Obviously Brian is still there, and they are doing a bit more with him, which I really liked. Yeah, really enjoying like the cast. This said, I do have my slight concern that this cast of characters is growing and growing, and we did get a lot of viewpoint characters in this. And is it hitting that tipping point now where you're going through a huge cast, giving all these people a viewpoint, that it starts to get a bit much? That we just want to cover maybe a few characters rather than what's starting to feel like a cast of thousands. It wasn't too bad, but we are introducing a lot of people. Obviously, you know, the folk community is very big. And then you've got the founders. We still don't know tons about them and how many there are, how big that is. At least I don't think we know how many there are. But, you know, that was more touched on. The overarching story that's been going on since book one, it did take a slight backseat for this story, which I don't think was a bad thing. You know, the story has to have peaks and troughs, so there was nothing wrong with having the Manny focus and having the big bad focus for this book. So yeah, that wasn't an issue, but I am getting a bit, oh, we have got a lot of characters and we are using a lot of characters. Is this going to be something that continues to grow throughout the books? And I'm really hoping it doesn't get too diluted with new characters and lots more viewpoint characters, because I think we're at kind of that tipping point of being in a good spot. But that's pretty much my only criticism. Okay, I have one more thing, and it's not a criticism, I'm just getting impatient. I really want my Reggie story, because he is a character that we have had snippets of and we have had a taste. There is something there, and he's already a fairly nicely well-rounded character. But I want more. I've had enough of tastes and I want the meal. I want to know what is going on with this guy, you know? We have had those little clues and we got another little hint of something where he was a viewpoint character in this book, and I was like, ooh, I don't think he's really left his dark side behind in the way he might claim he has. So I'm really excited. I'm really hoping that the next book, and I really hope I don't have to wait long for it, we are going to get more Reggie. That is my one real hope. So yeah, all in all, you know, I think these books have got better with every book. I don't think we've had a weak one yet. And, you know, I can't wait to see what goes on more between various characters and their relationships as they grow and change. And the thing is, I've been kind of light on information in this just because, as I said, it's a new book and I don't want to spoil too much. And, you know, I didn't want to go into a huge deep dive of the world of the Stranger Times and the characters because I did want to get into talking about the book. Here's the thing, if you want me to do a Stranger Times deep dive and have a video just dedicated to the world, to the characters, I am more than happy to do that. I would absolutely love to. It's kind of dependent if people want to see it, because it's an awful lot of work for me. It would not be a short video, and, you know, I'm not going to do it if people aren't interested. I'd rather, you know, talk to you about being a copywriter or, you know, novel writing month or just writing in general. You know, that's where I'd rather be. So yeah, if you do want to hear a deep dive of the Stranger Times, please let me know in the comments below. Please let me know if you have read the books. Let me know if you're planning to read the books. I'm always happy to find someone to talk about them with, and I think my friends are getting sick of me knocking on their door like a cult member. So yeah, do please give this video a like if you enjoyed it. Maybe even consider giving me a subscribe if you are not already subscribed. And yeah, I will absolutely see you in the next video, and that will be about writing, because we are getting very close to novel writing month. And I will see you next video. Take care. Bye.